Hi Nick, and
Hello.
welcome back to the Change Troubleshooter
6 years
podcast.
later.
Unbelievable.
Right.
But great to have you. And we didn't have the cheeky monkey office at that time.
No, we didn't. Sat through there around your kitchen table.
Yeah, so an improvement there. And just so exciting that what we're doing is book review.
Oh, that's you read it with post-it notes.
So, for those of you who may not have listened at the beginning, shame on you if you didn't, then Nick Owens from Delta PLM came in and shared a table with Simon Eves.
That's right.
And at the time, you were working with Bentley.
And I'd only just taken the brave pill and gone on my own.
Yes, yeah. And we were part, well, we are still part, but very much at that time, the PLM marketplace was super exciting.
It was booming.
It was booming. It was, PLM software was seen as a foundational software that became part of big company digital infrastructure.
Yeah, it was part of the big four. Yeah, the PLM, ERP, MES, CRM tools.
Yeah, and we were both very much involved in that. I'd say, Nick, that you are probably much more technical than me.
I used to be, although I'm trying not to be now. I'm trying my hardest not to be. But every now and again, I just keep getting dragged back into the tech.
But you definitely have that in your toolkit,
Yeah.
Which I think is really important. And so you tell us what life's been like for you. Then you took that big brave pill and
so yeah, 2019 took the brave pill, really just to try and I think I saw a gap, and I'm pretty sure the gap's still there. People who can do the tech bit, who can do the enterprise change piece and do the team transformation piece, because unless you get those 3-4 bits right, it's always going to fail. And we've seen that on industrial articles on like engineering.com or wherever it might be. Some big names have really suffered from failure to make sure that those 3-4 bits are aligned, and we're still seeing it today, sadly, because a lot of companies see tech as the answer to their transformation. Oh, we just get the CD, next, it upgrades our database, job done. When actually it's not. And this is where you come in, and I've engaged you on a program that I was struggling with, trying to get the sort of transformation leaders aligned to it and thinking in a different way, because quite often they just don't.
No, they do, they want to, they just don't. And I think it's difficult. It's always been difficult. And I think we have chatted about this. At the moment, the environment is really hard because there's a lot of people fighting for business investment money.
Yeah.
Now, that's always been true.
It's always the case.
But when it comes to tech at the moment, there is one element of tech that is dominating,
Yep.
And it's by far AI. And we know that it is part of our toolkit. Of course it is. But AI integrating into what exists within a business is a tricky thing to get right, especially if you're looking for return on that AI investment, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've seen it over the last few years working with some of my customers. They're either falling into one of two categories, using AI to answer the dumb questions so that they don't have to pay for consultants to come in and answer them, which I think is exactly the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Use it as an educational tool, get your head in the right space, give you high level vision as to how you could utilize PLM, ERP, whatever it might be in your business, what are the benefits. But then you see the other side of it, which is where people are thinking, well, I don't need these consultants. I'll just get AI to do it. We won't do a proper transitional program. we'll just write some AI bots to do it for us. But actually, that's never going to return because you still need a person to train the AI bot. And can you actually trust it to give you the right answer? Because what ChatGPT doesn't see is the mood in the boardroom. The people who are sat there like crossing their arms or rolling their eyes or taking big, deep breaths in. It doesn't feel the culture within the company. We've just been chatting now where, you go into a company and you get a feeling for it. You know that it's going to be good, or you think, bloody hell, this is going to be hard. So AI doesn't see that, but consultants do, and that's the value of consultants.
And it is this element of change troubleshooting,
Yeah.
which I know is the title of the podcast, and
But that's what we do.
That is what we do. And I have always hated the term consultant.
Yeah.
I don't think we are consultants. When I set Cheeky Monkey up in 2004, it was an anti-consultancy model because we are people who actually want to transform, have the ability to troubleshoot what is going on and transform that aligned to the business goals and the direction the business wants to take. And the consultancy thing comes in because it's temporary.
Yeah.
We're not meant to be there forever.
We don't want to be there.
No, we don't want to be there forever. The thing that really motivates us and keeps us sparky and wanting to do it is the thrill of achieving that.
It's going in, solving the problems, embedding it, and getting out again, because that builds our experience, that builds our credibility, and gives our future customers better value add, because we've been there, we've seen more than AI ever will. But I quite like the word consultant.
Do you?
I do, because it's a well-known thing. But like you with Cheeky Monkey, I am a strong advocate against consultancy theatre, and this is why I think consultants have got a bad name, because I'm not going to name names, but we all know who the big consultancy companies are out there. They've had a habit of landing and expanding over the years and draining budgets, not delivering value, and I think that's why people really dislike the term consultancy now.
Yeah.
So we're suffering because of the sort of pain that companies have gone through.
So this is just a little reminder of the value you get when you get experienced people
Correct.
troubleshooting change.
Yeah.
So that's what we've done with the book.
Yeah.
So Nick's challenge today, and he chose to accept it, was to pick out a step or a couple that he might like to talk about that resonated with him and he would like to talk about in today's podcast. And this is what he sent me back. This is the working copy of my book. He picked out 22 steps, 22, Nick, and 5 of them had an exclamation mark. So I'm taking that as a huge compliment. He has, though, narrowed it down to the...
I have boiled it down to 11. And can I just say, I crammed the book in one night with a very good bottle of whiskey. So that could be something to do with it.
So go on. Where would you like to start?
So for me, I've got my list of 11 here, and having been involved in transformation programs from a vendor side, but also from a customer side, and then the stuff I've done with Delta since, these 11 sort of go through a bit of a journey for me personally, and I think they're important steps for customers to validate themselves against. And what we see is that actually when you get to the end of it, the final one for me loops back to one of the first ones, and so you start again. So it's not just from a transformation point of view, but I think transformation leaders, those people in companies who are sponsoring this, CIOs, whatever, these guys are moving around relatively, you know, on maybe a 3 to 5 year sort of time scale. So if they get this right, they can then move into their next tenure in the next company with added experience, just like we're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So to get me book and me post-it notes.
There's nothing more heartening than seeing your own book full of post-its, let me tell you.
What you can't see is, rather than me making notes in the margin like you used to, I've got a load. I just took a photo of the page, so you're on the camera roll as well.
Brilliant.
Just so we can swipe through them. It's easy.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, my journey starts with step 6, which is talking about connecting with what matters. And here you mentioned things like purpose, people, connection with the customer, and that's not necessarily a customer in terms of an external customer, somebody who's buying your product, but the customer of the process, or the customer who's going to be adopting the transformation, right? I did sort of laugh and snigger at the next one, data and reality, because the amount of transformation programs I've been on where you say, right, okay, we need to, I don't know, let's say we're doing a PLM system upgrade, and they go, right, okay, well, what do you want to do with all of your data? Oh, just move it, migrate it into the new world. Okay. Do you really want to migrate everything? Do you want to, you know, archive some old stuff? Do you want to, you know, do a bit of a data cleanup beforehand? No, let's just migrate the lot. Right, okay. Well, that's going to cost you. And then the connection to self bit. So, you know, just in that, you know, why are we doing it? Who are we doing it with? So connection to people there, I read as the transformation team.
Yeah.
The people sponsoring it, the people demanding it, the people configuring it, implementing it, testing it, deploying it. It's the transformation team. Obviously, your customer is the people that you're doing it to, and hopefully you're not doing it to them, you're bringing them on the journey with you.
Yeah.
The stuff that you're affecting is the data and the reality. There's the hard data, but the reality is the business process, the feeling within the business on a day-to-day basis of people frustrated, cheesed off, annoyed. You know, how are they feeling doing their job?
Yeah.
And then the connection to self is, I see that as being the sort of introspective look. Am I doing this right? Have I ticked all of those boxes? It's your critical self for me.
Yeah.
So you know, start off with the purpose. Know what you're going to do, who you're going to do it to, with what, and have the sort of balls to stand there and go, am I the right person to do this?
Yeah, I know, and it is, that is so hard sometimes, isn't it? When you want to be the right person to do it, but sometimes, and especially when you're being brought in as the expert, your job to troubleshoot the change is to say, that's not me.
Yeah, and that is a gutsy move, because you know, people are quite often brought in. You go on LinkedIn, you go on the job sites, you see listings for transformation directors. You know, that's your job, to transform the business. When, you know, you could be the best transformation director in the world, but if the business can't, or has an inability to change, you're on hiding to nothing. You're going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's going to affect you, your self-confidence moving within that company, but then also maybe moving out of that company, thinking that you're a failure. And you know, some of the other steps sort of talk about things like personal chaos in your head. You know, I think one of them talks about oxygen masks. You know, putting your mask on before helping others with theirs. And it's that ability that if you're surrounded by chaos and you don't have the clarity, then how can you actually perform this role effectively.
Exactly. And for those of you who haven't read it yet, there's a little bit of cheeky wisdom
There is.
at the end of each
At the
one.
end of each one.
And the cheeky wisdom at the end, and we will not read them all out, don't worry. The cheeky monkey wisdom at the end of this one, though, is that transformation isn't about adding more stuff. It's about connecting the stuff you already have so it actually works and making it better. If you don't connect to what matters at the start, how will the transformation be what matters in the end? And there's sort of beautifully summing up
Simple.
your interpretation of it.
Yeah. You know, we see, we've both been in companies where you go in and they've got a plethora of different systems, and you know, they've maybe got a couple of hidden factories of people that are actually connecting those systems. And you know, it's not about just pulling everything down to these big systems, PLM, ERP, whatever it might be. It's about taking that and adopting it and making sure that whatever works for your business works for your business. And actually, if those hidden factories of people are adding value, keep them in there. You know, we're not saying get rid of them all.
No.
It doesn't have to be a complete autonomous flow. You need to do what's right for your company,
yeah,
and your environment, your culture. And I think that's what sort of following this step, connect what matters, actually does.
Great.
Right. Next one. Number 11. Let experience be your edge.
Oh, I love that you
Right.
picked this one, because this has already been quite a well talked about one.
Yeah. So I chose it for very selfish reasons, and forgive me if I go off into a bit of a random sales pitch, but we spoke about our hatred for consultants, or for the term consultant.
Yeah, let's make that clear, the term consultant.
Yeah, the term consultant. And I've got a real hatred for what I term consultancy theatre, as we've already spoken about. Mainly because that a lot of these bigger consultancies don't have the experience that boutiques like myself, like you, actually have. You know, we don't want the long engagements. We've gone in there, we've done it, we've seen it, we've come out. That's added experience, and that is equally as applicable to us as externals, as change leaders.
Yeah.
Rather than also transformation directors embedded within the company. You know, they're wanting experience, they're wanting positive, successful projects so that they can put something under their belt and move either outwards or upwards through their current company. So, you know, for me, experience is our edge. And looking at it from an AI point of view, AI doesn't have experience.
Yeah, it's a new kid.
It knows what it knows. It knows what you've trained it to know, but it doesn't do the soft stuff. It doesn't do the feeling of the room, and it never will be able to. So, you know, I think we as change leaders need to learn to work with AI, but know that we deliver value well over and above what AI could ever do. And actually, if you work with us, not against us, we will actually deliver you ROI, unlike AI.
Well, I think it's both, right? It's a tongue twister. Like, because there's a bit in here in the why it matters section. Neuroscience. Here I go. Neuroscience tells us that seasoned professionals, and I want to be clear on this as well, because this step I have used mainly to tell people who have done 25 years, celebrating 25 years at work, who aren't actually that old, started and done 25 years more or less with the same company.
Yeah.
And people in an older age bracket who are feeling that they are not wanted anymore. So seasoned means different things.
Yes.
It isn't necessarily just age. So neuroscience tells us that seasoned professionals don't just know more, their brains literally connect differently. They form stronger associative pathways, spotting risks and opportunities through pattern recognition that AI is only beginning to mimic. Now, when we work with AI, as both of us do,
Yeah. Sadly.
we are teaching that tool as if it's part of our team. And I do that with joy because I'm a little bit obsessed. So, and I like it almost as much as I like having a person in my team, but it is somebody in my team, no different to another cheeky monkey who I am passing on the benefit of my experience to.
Yeah.
And so for all organizations who are making this work at the moment, making sure your seasoned professionals are part of that equation is how you will troubleshoot this change, isn't it?
You see what you just said there in that paragraph, mentioning big words like neuroscience. I would just say they've been round the block a few times.
Absolutely.
But that's it. It's going through the gonna say it's same shit, different day.
Yeah,
You know, it's we've all been there through, the latest quality process, and it's called something else this time. But when you dip into it, it's the same stuff, it's just rebranded.
Yeah.
And these seasoned professionals, as we are, and we're not that old, we've been there, and we've learned from experience, and those connections in your brain do make you aware of, if I go there, I'm going to invoke a risk here.
Yes.
Or if that risk appears here, that's going to affect it by X, XB budget, XB timescale, XB whatever.
Yeah.
Because we've been there and we've done it.
And also the biggest thing when we're troubleshooting any change is the unintended consequence.
Oh yeah, didn't quite mean it to do that, or you've had a slight over, maybe you haven't done your impact analysis correctly. Maybe there's some, Pam in purchasing now, you've absolutely crippled her because you forgot to talk to her, or you forgot to engage her, or actually maybe, Pam in purchasing has now got, more time in a day to do something that could be more value add for the company. And there's positives and negatives.
And I think in this section, in the Your Move section, which every step has, because the book is called Your Move, so it comes with a set of exercises to do, which I'm pretty sure is why it's on your camera roll, because you couldn't have crammed that and done all those with a bottle of whiskey.
No.
Although I'd like to see the end ones on that. But here it is: turn your experience into a living system of learning, not a museum of memories. Now, we've also come across those people who actually get a little bit stuck in their experience.
Well, we've always done it like that, and I've done it like that in the previous company. I've seen this fail in this company, but just because it didn't work there doesn't mean it's not going to work now. Different company, and one of your later ones, you go on to talk about the company as a system. If you look at it as a system, new way of working, just because it didn't work then doesn't mean it's not going to work now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's number one on Your Move exercises here. Reflect, don't just repeat. After every project or challenge, ask, what did I learn about myself, others, and the systems, and capture that insight. And that, that is what we're doing. And really, in a lot of respects, actually using AI alongside this makes the capturing of the experience much more valuable. Because you are creating a record, and there's no doubt that AI is faster, quicker, and more efficient at doing that, running that kind of admin and continual learning in the background as you're going through this work.
You've seen my OneDrive clearly, because all of my projects are all in little folders and I've got files called certain things. If I want to go back, I'm there for a good half day. So
Yeah, exactly.
Let's use AI for that. Yes, please. Happy with that.
So next.
Right. Next, number 16, shared awareness. So this sort of puts home to me, and I've been in projects both from employed by the customer, but I've been in projects also where I've been employed by the vendor, so doing the project with that customer. And I'm glad to say I've been on more good projects than bad projects, and that's not me because I'm great. It's just, I think, luck, because not many consultants out there have been on, you know, a lot of good projects and seen what good can look like. And, you know, it comes down to me, the leader, the person who is either sponsoring this or driving it forward on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, I've worked with some bloody good people on that, and they're the people that understand that it's not just the tech, it's the people. It's those people that understand the culture in the business, who are senior enough to make the big boy decisions and earn the money, but they're humble enough to go and give somebody a cuddle when they need it, you know, go around to them, put their arm around them and go, do you know what, it's going to be okay. And it's having that human touch.
Yeah.
And I think this is what this step to me talks to, which is having that shared awareness, having the ability to take a company-led directive that is very black and white, it's very sterile, but putting it into a way that means something to the end user, and understanding that that end user actually has got as much value to the company as the CEO, and actually their opinion does matter, and putting it in a way that conveys that to that person.
Absolutely. And the starting line of this step is transformation doesn't fail because people can't work hard. It fails because they can't see the same picture.
Yeah.
And we have seen this over and over. Whether it ends up being a good transformation or a not so good transformation, the first thing that we try and do in every situation is make sure people are seeing the same picture.
Right, okay. We're all running this way rather than people just scattergunning around, you know.
Yeah.
It's like that old Monty Python sketch, the 100-meter sprint for spatially unaware people, and the starting gun goes off and they all start running in opposite directions, and quite often that is a PLM program, because your integration team are off doing one thing and your CAD data managers are off doing something else, and your change leaders are off doing something else, and you know, it's having that ability to go, right, everyone goes that way.
Yeah. And it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
So
okay, 22. Now, for those of you who have worked with me, you know that this is one of my little strap lines. So when I'm trying to get somebody to not make a bad decision, I always say, think of me. And they go, why? Because you're big and you can be a little bit threatening sometimes. I went, no, my initials are no. So think of me. No, Nick Owens, think of me. So, you know, that's one reason why, because it just made me smile. But also, you know, we're getting into the realm of scope creep, I think, for me.
Yeah.
either technical scope of the project, or, you know, the people scope as well. Well, if you're doing that for them, can you just do it for us? And actually, we work very similar, but actually, when you get into the weeds, you work very differently, using different data, different processes, different control points. Maybe your involvement in the change management process is slightly different. So it's having the ability to constrain it down. You know what I was saying about everyone run that way?
Yeah.
Everyone run that way, but within like 100 meters of each other rather than a kilometer of each other.
Yeah.
So it's sort of narrowing the scope down for me.
It is. And I there's some cheeky wisdoms that actually my mum has not read the book. She tried to read the
How
book.
can your mum not read the book?
Right, she tried to read the book, but she absolutely was obsessed with the cheeky wisdom. So once she realised what the cheeky wisdom was, she just went through every step and read every single bit of cheeky wisdom. And some of them really made her laugh out loud. This was one of them. Fear makes us do lots of stupid stuff.
Yeah, good. Like saying yes to everything.
The unintended consequences of always saying yes is that you become the thing that probably scares you the most. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
No one values the yes person in the end.
Yeah, and you know, this step actually goes back for me on some of the earlier stuff when you start talking about leaders who take on too much. They are wanting to do their best and think that the more they take on is doing more, it's more value, they're going to be seen better.
Yeah.
But actually, that makes them an even worse leader because the stress levels are up here. They don't have the time to go and put their arm around someone in the organization for the shared awareness. You know, they're stressed all the time. The messaging becomes very black and white, sterile PowerPoints. So, you know, it's not just about technical scope, it's about headspace scope for the leader and the team as well.
We definitely tend to do this when we fear something.
Yeah.
And that fear can come from inexperience.
Yeah, can be.
And so if you are just starting your career as a change, transformation consultant in any way, while you're building up that experience, it's so important to keep a cap on that fear factor and not think that you have to just keep saying yes.
Know what you're good at and stick with it. And then, you know, once you're good at doing what you're doing, it then becomes easier, therefore giving you more scope to venture out and then try something else. And therefore that's how people grow.
Yeah, exactly. Which sort of goes nicely into the next one.
It's funny though. Sure said this was the journey. Yeah. And this talks about, you know, visualizing the success. So, you know, we've just spoken about everyone run that way, but where is that way? Is it over there? Is it over there? You know, and this is what we must do here. We've got to visualize what success looks like. And that could be as something as simple as, I don't know, reducing the amount of change notices that go through a change board, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be, you know, a huge transformational statement at a company level. But again, that doesn't mean much to people at a working level. Yeah. We've got to sort of distill it down into meaningful messages for each team, each department, each part of the company that's been affected, while having that traceability back from the chief exec that says we've got to do X in X by reducing the budget of Y.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's having the ability to make it meaningful in a way that isn't necessarily always tech driven.
Yeah.
You know, not everything has a number associated with it.
Yeah.
And just because we can't pin a budgetary figure on it or a reduction in a metric or a KPI doesn't mean we haven't done good. If people feel better or just have a better working experience day on day, surely that's success as well.
Absolutely. And the first exercise in the Your Move section is picture it personally. Close your eyes. It's 1 year from now. The transformation worked. What does your day feel like? What's changed? What hasn't? And if you think, as you're saying, if everybody did that, right from the CEO all the way through the organization, and everyone pictured their version of success, then building that and ticking them off through all the different levels would just be perfection.
And this one, I think there's a step later on that talks about metrics and not over managing the project. You know, it's not always about, well, we've taken the number of test issues down from 83 down to 56, therefore we're succeeding. It's not always about that.
No, because we know you can do that and make everyone very happy, unhappy even. You can make everyone very unhappy. And like you say, Pam or someone somewhere else is going, great, you've just made your day better and ticked a box. And for me, now it's a nightmare. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Taking a big step forward now. 38. We're getting through the book. By my reckoning, we're about halfway now. So, you know, you've heard me talk about consultancy theatre, and this is why I've chosen this one, because this is called Transform with Action, not Theatre. And this is about doing what you said you would do. It's being honest. It's not about the pomp and the ceremony. It's not about creating, you know, 1,000,001 slide decks of snazzy dashboards and KPIs and making, you know, graphs have an upward trend. You know, this is about cutting through it and just delivering what you said you would do in a humble way. And, you know, in your section around Your Move, cut vanity metrics. Just because you're upticking something doesn't mean you have to keep banging on about it. You know, there's a personal side to this as well.
There is, and there's something that I have seen a lot over the years. It's changed actually. You know, over 20 years, you see some big changes. This is one that's changed a lot. When leaders prioritize optics over outcomes, they teach teams to perform change rather than to deliver it. And that's how transformation becomes theatre and how belief quietly dies. Now, how often have you spoken to an employed group of people within a large organisation and you come in and the eye rolling starts and they've heard it all before? They've heard it all before, they've seen it all before, because they get the talk, but not the action.
And, you know, I must admit, when I read optics, bearing in mind I was drinking a bottle of whiskey with this, I did think you were going down a different path. But, you know, we've all been there when the external consultancy comes in and one of the first things they deliver you is I've seen it loads lately, and it really grinds me, is this like snazzy infographic, hate that word, where it's like a cartoon picture of the company. And, you know, Pam in purchasing's got like a sad face or like an angry face or something. And, you know, is that really delivering value? Yeah, all right, it's probably better than a wordy PowerPoint, but you know, come in here, talk to us, understand us, work with us, and do what you say you're going to do and get out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people want.
Don't just flood us with consultants taking our time, disturbing Pam in purchasing. If your name's Pam in purchasing, I'm really sorry about it. But, you know, transformation is heavy is heavy enough and distracting enough and disruptive enough
Yeah.
without flooding the company, taking your time, making your day job harder, which is why you need to use experienced people, you know, as step 11,
Yeah.
because we don't do that. We know, because we've been around the block, 9 times out of 10, we will know where the pain points are.
Yeah.
Because they are relatively common.
And who to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
And not to start any bullshit over, oh, well, it's going to be so different in the end. Well, is it? Actually, most of the time, what we're saying is it's only going to be different if we can sort this issue out. If we can sort this issue out, your life's going to be better, and so is mine. Yeah. We'll get on.
And quite often, it's, you know, again, you mentioned this later on. It's not always the plan change that makes the impact. It's the unintended change.
Yeah, exactly. Which is more important for us.
65, right? We are getting through this now. We're into the last 2/3. So step 65, understand your landscape. And, you know, this for me is, so we've said we're going to run this way. You know, we've got our team, we've got our experienced people. It's understanding what we actually need to change and how it's going to impact. This is what it says to me. It's the, you know, we're operating in a world now where product complexity is going through the roof. You know, when we look at how cars were designed and built 30 years ago to how they are now with, you know, inbuilt AI now in cars, for God's sake, you know, sensors, systems, product complexity is going through the roof. But, you know, our companies aren't necessarily responding to that. And we're seeing that in some automotive organizations where they're still organized to design a car like they were 30 years ago. So that just goes to show that the internal organization hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So product complexity is going up. Organizational complexity probably is flatlining.
Yeah.
Although we are adding in complexity by employing people like transformation directors. But one thing that is certain is that, you know, that the systems these companies are using, the complexity is going up. The integration is becoming tighter. That whole flow of data is now probably more disparate than ever, despite what the companies are getting told by the vendors, by software integrators.
Yeah.
You know, actually we're seeing copies of data replicated through systems as opposed integrated through systems. And then, you know, when you, in your move, the ripple check, you know, one interesting exercise is to say, okay, you've got this bit of product data here. If we want to change that, what people have to get involved, what systems are affected, and what does our end-to-end change process look like?
Exactly.
And trying to aggregate that data up to a level where it's actually clear, I think now is nigh on impossible in a lot of companies. And a lot of companies sadly are thinking AI will solve it.
Well,
but I don't think it will.
But in here I've written potentially.
Right.
Potentially, because I put now in the AI era, the awareness has never mattered before. AI systems see the connections faster than humans ever could, but they can't tell you which ones matter. Not unless we tell them that.
Right, which is what I was going to say.
Exactly.
Because you can ask AI, let's say, about how let's get really techy, how an item revisions metadata is stored in a Teamcenter database. It's going to give you some generic blurb and it'll guess.
Yeah.
Because that's what AI does, is it guesses.
Yeah.
Right. But when you actually go into the database and see what, it's completely wrong. Right. So yes, your point there, it can see the connections. It thinks it can see the connections, but we still need a person to train it,
Of
to tell it
course.
what those connections are and where that data sits. It's not going to inherently know that unless a person has trained it to.
Correct. So I go on to say the process patterns provide perspective. When human insight and machine pattern recognition work together, leaders don't just respond to change, they anticipate it.
Yeah.
It is so important. This is where businesses could see a real upturn in productivity if in its foundational layer, when we're making these systems integrate, talk to each other, work together, we're using AI in that way to spot the patterns and using the experienced people to say, no, not there, don't look there, look here.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing there, that's not quite right, but move it here.
Yeah.
If you were doing that, the ongoing upturn could be quite dramatic. Could be quite dramatic. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it could be. And, you know, we could use AI to sort of, dare I say, step into processes to stop data going somewhere if it's not in the correct format or has, you know, spurious attributes where, you know, maybe, I don't know, for example, you know, when a bolt is first sort of designed, you know, it's, I don't know, an M5 by 20 bolt, right? There's no way that that bolt could weigh in excess of 50 kilos, right? But AI could step in there and go, hang on a minute, you know, the bounding box of this part is that big. Surely it can't weigh that much. So use it as a bit of an error checker.
Yeah.
Overlay it with your approval systems.
And if you did that, that's what I'm saying about the foundational piece of work, which does lean nicely into your next chosen step. If you did it as part of that foundational piece and you were using the experienced people to actually help refine the way the tool is looking at that, then the future use of that tool would be it could start proposing things that we hadn't thought about.
Yeah.
Like reducing weight in things, changing a shape that we wouldn't automatically think about.
Yeah, agreed. Right, 69.
Yeah.
Tidy up first.
Exactly.
This is what my wife tells me every day, but you know, it sort of rings true in any transformation project. And immediately, you know, my head went towards data. And, you know, in the your move section, you mentioned data. But actually, it's more than just the sort of the little bits of data, the missing metadata, the metadata that's in the wrong place. It's not just about that. How many times have you gone into a company and done some business process analysis where you've mapped out the process for them and they've had a light bulb moment and went, why the hell are we doing that? Right. Okay. So, you know, that's step one for them. If you don't know why you're not doing it, if that transaction doesn't have an input and an output, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
So tidy your processes up first, because if you then blindly give those processes to a vendor or a solution integrator or whoever it might be, that's what they will do.
Yeah.
They will make sure that I'm trying to think of another version of Pam in purchasing, but
We've all grown fond of Pam now.
right, Alan in approvals, right? Alan in approvals now gets an email telling him that this is at this point. Well, Alan doesn't care. Alan hasn't cared for years. Maybe Alan even retired 15 years ago and is going to a dead mailbox. But, you know, the point is, get your ship in order, clean up your processes, because it's not just about tech, because if we just overlay tech on it, it'll automate what you've already got.
Yeah.
Clean up your data. Don't do a data migration without cleaning it up first and making the big boy decision to say, let's not migrate that stuff because we haven't touched it in 20 years. Yes, keep it because you need it for regulatory, for, you know, maybe service management, whatever, keep it, but don't migrate it into the new way of working.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same with roles. Do I need all of these roles? And I'm not on about people, I'm on about roles. Do we need that role in the future organization? It's having that vision of, you know, data flow and efficiency. And when we talk about roles, people naturally go back to, oh, well, you're making redundancies. No, we're not. We're making roles redundant. We're not necessarily making people redundant here.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be as something as simple as on my list here, what you've
Don't
named.
even get me going on number 4 meeting. I hate the meet. Let's have a meeting to discuss the next meeting. No, can we not?
I know, seriously got out of hand. So, and as you're reading the cheeky wisdom, I personally find this very hard. I am programmed for action, but that quick start has always cost me in the end. Sometimes the smartest move is to stop, clean up, and move again. It's really hard though, by my own admission.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been in this position, but I know people who have. And, you know, if they take on that transformation director role, an internal role where they're being watched and judged from day one, they will feel a pressure, as you mentioned in some of the really early steps in this chaotic head, that they need to start getting stuff done immediately, immediate impact, make the company feel their presence, when actually that can be hiding to nothing, getting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
Maybe they do need to be the quieter person, analysing, assessing, feeling, before they start making these big decisions.
Exactly.
Next one, and it is literally next one, number 70. Get clear on definitions. So is it 70? Because I've written down a different word there. Yeah, 70. Get clear on definition. So this to me is about your putting the corporate bullshit. And consultancies are brilliant at buzzwords, aren't they?
Yes.
You know, we've got a framework, we've got a template, we've got that. This is how your competitors are doing it. No. Have your language set out so that when you're communicating progress, when you're communicating change impact, that it's meaningful to the people that you've actually been done to.
It's even, I start this by saying, even the words change, project, and transformation get tossed around like they mean the same thing.
Yeah.
And they don't.
They don't.
But we don't pull people all the time, do we? Because you'd just be constantly going, actually, that's not a project, it's a program, or that's not that, it's this. But when you have your moment, then getting it all around is so important.
But there is no consultancy out there, and I will put myself in this position, and I think anyone should be humble enough to know that, in that you're not going to go into a company and talk their language immediately. You will go in with generic terms, but to me, a high value change leader goes in there and has the ability to turn that dictionary on, or that thesaurus or whatever, to go, when they say this is how they actually refer to it.
Yeah.
And it's important that, because it allows you to talk to them on their level.
Yeah.
Not as a generic consultant where you're talking at them. Because if they don't understand, you know, systems and all sorts of stuff now, full of acronyms.
Yeah.
Whenever I write like an end of project report or a design document or a test specification, the amount of acronyms you got to list at the start, it's scary. There's another use case for that. Get AI to write your acronym page for you.
Exactly.
Because it is quite good.
Yeah, I know it is. And there is the 15-minute language detox in here is a great starter icebreaker, actually.
And
Just a bit of fun.
but also not from the consultant's point of view, but from the internal point of view. You know, we don't talk to people at the working level about the executive level language. Distill it down, talk to them in their language, because they're the good transformation leaders that I've worked with, where they can say, this is what I'm being told from my bosses, but this is how I think it relates to you.
Yeah.
And they might not always get it right, but at least they've tried, and that carries a lot of credibility for me.
Correct.
Now you're going to go to number 80, and I'm going to throw in another one for you.
Oh.
Because I've written down 78 here, which is designed for flow, not control. Because the reason why I think this one is important is because people think that we all work in a realm of gated processes. If you look at new product introduction, you know, there's manufacturing readiness levels, there's technical gates, there's design gates. You know, we get measured for that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been in companies where the engineering department panics because they say, oh, we're coming up for gate review number 3. Let's approve everything so that our metrics look good, so that we don't get a bollocking in the design review.
Yeah.
When actually all they've done is they've ticked a box to make themselves look good.
Yeah.
And then they've got to start revising stuff and going back on change.
Which goes back to that performance theatre.
Yeah, which is the control bit. We should be promoting organizations to work together. How many times will you read on any given day on LinkedIn posts around data silos? Right, I'm guilty of it, I know. And it's, you know, it's a real pet hate of mine, because, you know, having worked in the manufacturing side of things, new product design kicks off, design scope creep pushes the handover to manufacturing later, and then the manufacturing labs get 2-3 months to sort out all the crap that's gone from design and make it into a physical product. While PLM, well, predominantly PLM, they promote parallel working. So having that sort of parallelism between, all right, once they've done maybe concept design, then we'll start talking to manufacturing about, well, actually, can you make that feature a little bit different because we can't make that, or it'd be easier if we use that part because it's a standard part, right? Having that is useful. So it's about flow of data and not getting sort of protective over it. Oh, it's mine. You're not seeing it till it's polished. Right?
No, and, you know, there are so many conversations, particularly from the government. I mean, Rachel Reeves talks about it consistently, that the productivity levels in the UK are not where they need to be.
No,
and we have struggled for years. I tell you, for the whole 20 years that I've been trying to make things more efficient. And the main reason we struggle is that we will not look at flow. Not really. Because if we really looked at flow and not control, we could streamline so many things. But authority, hierarchy, control all get in the way of this.
Yeah. And, you know, when you look at, you know, basic principles around things like the CM2 methodology, you know, it's all about data sharing, making data visible so that everyone can use it. PLM systems promote it. You know, oh yeah, you want to go and see a piece of data, you can search for it on a web browser, on your phone, you can go and find it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean data flow. Data flow means, you know, the ability to flow the data around the organization and back again, so that people are actually acting on it in a way that is pushing, you know, maybe bringing in start of production early.
Yeah, it's true continuous improvement.
It is.
And if we were really troubleshooting change points, we'd be looking for that at every step of the way. But how often do you only get to see one bit, or you're only responsible for one bit?
Yeah.
You're only changing one bit.
Yeah.
And woe betide that you step over that line, then there's a lot of power that gets in the way of creating true efficiency.
Who are you to tell me how to do my job, or you don't have authority in this department?
Correct.
And yet we're all building the same thing. We're all working to the same end goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Such a shame.
So, final one for me, step 80.
And you say the final one for me, step 80. Step 80 is massive.
It is. And, you know, this, you mentioned it earlier on, looking at the business as a system itself. And I had to sort of stop and pause about that. But with a systems thinking head on, yes, it is just a system. But, you know, what we're talking about here in seeing the system leading the whole is, you know, we're dealing with, us as change leaders, we're dealing with huge shifts in organizations, culture, tech, process, data. You know, no one can honestly say that they are completely in charge of it all.
No.
And if you do think that, you're a liar. And I'll say that. Shoot me down.
Yeah.
But I don't believe anyone will ever be responsible for the whole entirety of the project. So, which is why we need to separate it out. We need to have that parallelism, but we need to understand that somebody does have to have vision over the whole, report it out. But, you know, we need to lead the whole. And I think the key word there is lead, not control. Push everyone into that direction of running this way.
This is such a big topic. And obviously we could do the whole podcast just on this. Actually, our next podcast guest has just chosen this one step. She doesn't want to talk about anything else. She just wants to talk about this one step. I think because it is so important, because in this AI era, it is more vital than at any other time.
Yeah.
Because we want to incorporate something that is going to learn with an organization. That's ultimately our hope and ideal for AI.
Yeah.
That it starts to become part of an organization and learns and grows with the organization as an easier way for it to scale. But to do that, you've got to see the organization as a whole.
Yeah, you've got to understand how all the connecting pieces of it mix in together and how we're working towards that common goal of being more efficient, being more cost aware, you know, delivering our commitments to our customers in the most budget friendly, efficient way.
And one of the people that I've followed over a while now is Daniela Meadows. She is a systems change expert and no longer with us, but her work is still very relevant, very prevalent. And I quote her in here saying, she said, the most powerful way to change a system is to change how people see and think. When you teach teams to see the interconnections between culture and process, between human emotion and data, you make the system smarter than any individual within it. And that's collective intelligence.
But again, there's nothing new in that, because we've been doing it for years with systems engineering. You know, you have, you know, this massive complex ontology.
Yeah.
Or a system map or whatever. But then what do we do in that? We create viewpoints. We look at it from an actor's point of view in a process with a certain bit of data. And that's what that's talking about. What an ontology doesn't do is do the whole cultural bit, but that's what we do as change leaders. We read the room and we apply it.
But that we're saying that to really troubleshoot a transformation, the whole organization has to be in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, because
And in this age of AI, that is even more important because we want co-creation, don't we?
yes,
We've always said that from
Yeah.
our previous digital transformations. Now we are going to include this highly changeable part of our digital infrastructure, something that is going to continue to learn.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that it sees the whole.
Yeah, and again, there was another step in your book that talks about transformation is no longer a massive multi-year project or program. We do need to be able to have shorter projects so that we can react to the changing environment.
Yeah,
How much has the world changed over the last 5 years? How much has product changed? How much has culture changed? Look back to COVID, we're all now hybrid workers, who'd have thought it?
yeah,
So these shorter projects, not only will they allow us to react faster, they'll be able to allow us to recover ROI quicker,
yeah,
thus making us better change leaders, transformation directors, whatever, so that we can then gain experience, either get out and move on to the next one, or stay within if you're internal and move on to the next project. But we need to understand that it's not just that little bit we're affecting. How many times have you gone into a company going, we've got a problem with our PLM system, but it's only looking at engineering. It's not looking at purchasing, manufacturing, logistics, G code creation. It's not looking at that, but it's just that one little bit. But it's not. It's wider because we're all using that data.
exactly.
One of the big takeaways from me was I've just done my CM2 qualification, and they talk about engineering change notes, ECNs, but actually it's not an engineering change note, but that's what all the vendors call it. It's an enterprise change note because it covers the entire enterprise, and that was a bit of a flip switch for me.
Well, I'm absolutely humbled, Nick.
There we go. So,
What an amazing run through.
well, you've had a baptism of fire, haven't you? If this is your first one and I come to you with 11 steps and 10 and then throw in an extra one, I think you've handled it pretty well. Hopefully the others will be much more compliant. Just choose one or two.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to go through it.
It's always good talking.
And yeah, you made me feel like it was a book worth writing.
Absolutely. Somebody needs to say it because no one's listening.
Oh. Well, hopefully lots of people will listen to
Well,
it.
you will. Get it on Amazon. You can get it next day. I got mine next day.
You heard it from him. So thanks so much for taking
Pleasure.
the time.
Thank you very much for the invite.
Let's hope it's not another 5-6 years till the next one.
I know. Let's make it not.
Yeah.
Tell me, didn't it record?